Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the 2022 design trends. So it's a little late in the year to be getting this video up, but given how crazy the market's been, I hope you will forgive me. So if you haven't been here before, my name's Hannah Clancy Thompson. I am with TTR, Sotheby's International Realty. And today we're going to be talking about 2020 design trends, what you can expect from both an interior design perspective and sort of trends in furniture, colors, renovation features, finishes, that sort of thing, to help you whether you're doing this for yourself as a homeowner or if you are thinking about potentially selling and you want to kind of see what's in so that you can do something that will appeal to buyers. Maybe you're an investor and you're thinking about renovations to attract current tenants. So let's jump into it. All right, so I have my notes on my screen right here. So if you see me looking away, that's what I'm looking at. The interior design trends for 2020, let's get started with the color of the year, which, is, I think, just more for fun. It's a good marketing technique for, the different people who the color is important to them. But, I don't know how much it means, but let's at least just look at it for funsies. And actually, let's see, I'm gonna scooch this way so I can put some photos here so you can see what I'm looking at. Okay, so this one, color of the year. The Pantone color of the year is Very Perry. That's that sort of purpley periwinkle color. The Benjamin Moore color is October Mist, and the Sherwin-Williams color is Evergreen Fog. I don't know where this Very Perry came in. I have not seen that in real estate this year, but the other two, especially, I really like the Sherwin-Williams Evergreen Fog. I think these sorts of not completely gray anymore, kind of beigey, these both have like a green pull to me. So I think that they're both beautiful, and in this general sense, I think we're still seeing grays, but not necessarily that like a sharp blue gray, that you can move towards something more neutral, more beigey, that sort of thing. I think that that's pretty standard. I don't think that that's a shocker for anybody. The next trend I want to talk about is biophilic design. So that's basically nature, a connection to nature, bringing more plants into your interior spaces using natural materials. So here we're going to have this one beautiful image here of a house where they've just kind of taken the conservatory route and really brought a lot of plants in so that even the indoors feels like the outside. I think with a lot of people being home during COVID, it's a way to stay connected to nature and not be depressed by being inside all the time. And then this next image, you can see whether that is the wood on the fireplace, that light fixture, and again, you can see a lot of the plants and sort of the wood tones, these natural elements that you would traditionally see even in outdoor furniture coming inside. So you should be thinking bamboo, wicker, rattan, that sort of thing. And also we're seeing here's that make it green. So this is the image that we had in the Sotheby's article that I'm referencing, and you can go over to my blog post to click through to see their original post that they wrote about. They had this and they have make it green. To me, this is more of a blue than a green, but I think before that, neutral and green tones. Green is, I'm pretty sure I'm correct in saying, it is the most easy for our eye to process color, and so it's relaxing, calming, soothing. And I think we're starting to see between that desire and that nature connection that we were talking about earlier, that those two things kind of coming together, and you're seeing more of those greens. And that's why I think in those colors of the year, the ones that were like a gray or a beige, but they had a green leaning tint to them, I think that's sort of more how you're going to see it. I personally love green. There is a Sherwin-Williams color called Elfin Sage, and I just absolutely love it. That's an actual green though. The next one here for interior design trends we're seeing is round furniture. So as you can see from the sofa pieces, we're talking about literally curved shapes, but keeping it clean line curved shapes. We're not thinking of ornate over the top sort of round furniture. We're thinking still keep it minimalist, still keep it fresh, but more curved. Personally, my bias is always towards squares. I much prefer a square to a circle any day. In this picture, I think these are all beautiful. I'd allow those in my house, but I do try to personally just try to stay to the squares. But I do think in this actual photo, though, it's a good contrast between the round furniture and all of the very angular lines of the house in this particular image. The next one is vintage furniture, basically just not formal. So how do you basically make it environmentally friendly, have furniture that's well made and not fussy, right? And so that reconnection with vintage, antique, and in this image, you can see someone's put together a beautiful grouping of eclectic pieces to kind of get that look. I think that these sorts of things are very beautiful. I personally love old furniture. My era is the 50s, anything 40s, 50s. That's sort of where I would go to anyway. But I do think that there's just something to be said about the quality that you get when you get this old furniture, and they say, oh, that's not how, it's not made like it used to be. So I think that's we're starting to see that sort of return of appreciation to these old pieces. And also it's connecting with, just as society becomes more aware of the harm from climate change and how we really need to start caring more about the choices we're making. And, you're starting to see people wanting to reuse things and make old new again. And, that doesn't mean that you can't get an old piece and maybe make some improvements, new fabric choices, that sort of thing, but really appreciating the old and bringing that into your design. All right, the next one we have down here is lighting. Light fixtures as art. I'm here for this. This is beautiful. Metal fixtures, white brass lighting, clean modern looks. And you see in this image some, not just the metal and the interesting shapes here, but also just like oversized art pieces that are really just the design and the feature of the room. Especially with the streamlined design being in, adding something really interesting with your lighting is just such a fun way to do it. So that one is great. Let's see. All right, front yards, screened-in porches. On my blog post, I said, don't call it a comeback because, I think front porches, screened-in porches, front yards, they were like classic America. When you think of American Dream, people sitting on the front porch in their rocking chair talking to their neighbors. I think that that's sort of like an old classic in our minds of America. And so now that COVID is back, I think we're seeing more of that, a desire to entertain outside for safety purposes, having your social gatherings at home and keeping it outside. Really just sort of being able to meet people in your day-to-day life, just in the street, in your neighborhood, hanging out with your neighbors or your friends, and really sort of trying to move away from always going to an enclosed space, a restaurant, a bar, that sort of thing. I mean, obviously, I think that there's still a desire for eating at restaurants and whatnot. I think we need to continue to support our local businesses. But I do think that this is a trend that we have seen a lot. One of the ways we're starting to see this more and more is people adding additions, outdoor rooms, 3-season rooms, screened-in porches. I know in my neighborhood, my next door neighbor has one that they just put in. I'm building one right now. There's a lot in my community of just people expanding and making spaces that can function as outdoor living but somewhat indoor. There's a transition where maybe it's completely indoor living, but it flows into the outdoor space with a big door. Maybe it's just a screened in porch so that you have the airflow, or maybe it is just a covered a deck or patio where, you know, you're thinking outdoor living, but, you know, think a higher level, adding a ceiling fan, adding a TV, adding in maybe outdoor kitchen or some kind of like formal structures where you're actually living outside, where, you know, that's where you're doing your work. That's where, you know, when you're working from home, you're in your new office, which is your covered patio, that sort of thing. That's what we're looking here at this expansion. So yes, front doors, yes, screened-in porches and that sort of thing, but also seeing out back in a more expanded capacity. All right, let's move on to the next one, multi-talented mud rooms. As you can see in any new construction that you go into, you're seeing amazing mud rooms. That has been a trend for a while. Even before COVID, we started to see even more mud rooms, and even to the point of having a mud room when you come into the house with laundry and also a laundry room upstairs. We're not seeing people wanting to move away from outdoor laundry spaces, but just that we're creating this new mud room that's doing something else. And in addition to where we take off our shoes and our coats, it's also where we wash our hands and maybe where we take off the clothes that we've been out in, especially for those who are in businesses where they're on the front line, you know, to be able to remove anything that could be like contaminated and wash it in their mud room. We're also looking at people, as we have increased, you know, online purchases, you know, massive amounts of Amazon packages arriving every day, is a place to handle where are all the packages coming in and out. Where's all those supplies that need to be recycled or broken down? Maybe a section for your returns. Everything that's like the busy coming and going of life. If you know, if you have kids, maybe it's your your lunches, your snacks, your meals, your school supplies, your sporting supplies, whatever it is that needs to kind of come in and out of the house. You don't necessarily want to be dragging all of that stuff through your entire house, and having this multifunctional mudroom that really can be a different kind of house center. It's not a house center like a living room or a kitchen where people congregate to spend time, but rather like a house center where you accomplish all of like the main tasks of sort of just everyday life. Okay, flooring. I'm very excited to see these trends. These are things I just think are just beautiful and timeless. We're seeing light flooring, herringbone patterns, and you know, there's a connection here with back to that nature, right? The light tones that you would see in, you know, maybe a maple or even hickory or something that's a lighter tone, not seeing these darker floors or even the ornate patterns of really trying to keep it to something that's light and bright and airy and natural. I think given that flooring is one of the best projects that you can take on if you want to sell your house, or you need to renovate in order to sell your house, or you just want to invest in a project that's going to have a good ROI, flooring is always a good one. You know, this typically has a return of over 100% on it. You can really justify getting that money back. So when you are considering putting your house on the market, if your floors are not in good condition, a light sanding, a restaining, some kind of tweaks, anything you can do to really present your flooring at its top, at its best, that's always going to be something that's going to be one of the first projects we discuss when you're thinking about selling your house. Flooring is major for everybody. All right, so the next one is nooks and niches. I'm really interested to see what happens with this one. So this idea is basically open concept is out. We're looking at increasing the numbers of spaces for people to work, to have private time, to kind of get away. With everybody living in the same place, you need a place where you can quietly work, or you could be on a conference call and you're not, you know, disturbing the rest of your family or having overlapping conference calls. But basically, you know, window seats, small reading nooks, that sort of thing. And I think that's always been beautiful, and I'm excited to see it come in, and I just hope that we continue to see that moving forward post-COVID. All right, functional doors. This kind of speaks to that last point, this idea of pocket doors or hinge doors or something where if you want to have that open concept space when you're not working and you want the family to feel connected, you can. But then when you're working, you can close it. Or if you want to get away and have some private time, you can close your doors and really separate yourself. And we're seeing that not just like what you would think of in like a bedroom and a bathroom, but in, main levels, actually having a real dining room, for instance. And that's actually going to be my next slide. So maybe I'll just stick that one up here right now. Actual dining rooms are back because people want to sit down and eat and talk to each other. And those dining rooms, we're also seeing people wanting, French doors and like putting things back to separate that space. Because, during the day it can function as an office, and at night it's your true family gathering spot to eat, especially for the people who are either like immune compromised or don't want to go out and eat inside in a restaurant, especially as, we're seeing a lot of changes between mask mandates and transportation in restaurants. I think we're in a very transition sort of period right now, and you're seeing that in these sort of trends here, whether it's the doors, the dining rooms, etc. This next one is so fun. Night rooms. I love the idea of calling it a night room as well. I have a night room at my house, and in my renovation that I'm doing right now, the biggest expansion on the back is a combination of the sort of indoor-outdoor living and this idea of a night room, where you stay at home, you're having the night in, and you're having your cocktail, your glass of wine, and that's where it's no kids toys allowed. This is adult space, this is dark colors, it's sexy, and you are just enjoying that space. You're sitting down, you're having a nice end, you're putting the work away, you're putting the stresses of the world away. I think I speak for everyone when I say there's a lot of really stressful things happening in the world right now, especially with what's happening in the Ukraine, and just how that's going to impact us, potentially with gas and food shortages and all of the things that could come with that. And we still have the concerns about COVID. I think we're starting to see people wanting that escape at home, to turn off and shut down and put away the devices and just have some quiet time to reset and relax at home. And I think that's why you're seeing this growth in the night rooms. All right, so the next one is kitchens. All right, I love this trend, but hang on there for a second. Every year I see these trends. They say white kitchens are out. And this one, it says all white kitchens continue to be out, and people are starting to play with different countertops and streamlined backsplashes. Yes, I think that is true. We are seeing people do things that are unusual or interesting. Different stone on the island versus on the counters. Maybe different color cabinets or something unique and different. Solid backsplashes as opposed to maybe a tile, like a subway tile. Maybe you just have one sheet of quartz or porcelain or whatever it is that speaks to you. But this idea that all white kitchens are out, I want that so badly. I think that white kitchens they show really well in new homes, but they're very hard to live in unless you are a clean freak and you keep it clean all the time. And you really have to be delicate. You don't want to be scratching that paint. It's not as forgiving as, if you have a wood cabinet and you kind of are a little rough with it and it has a ding, that aged wood look can be nice, whereas, a scraped white paint just looks like scraped white paint. So I think that especially if you have kids or you have a really busy household or you're just really hard on your kitchen, I think white kitchens are very hard to live in, especially if you have marble counters. I really don't understand the white marble counters because of the staining. As a red wine drinker, that's a no for me. But I say this, and I said this last year because this was what the trend said last year, but I do not see it actually happening yet in construction. I see maybe unique pops, a different color island or something like that, but I'm not seeing the removal of the all white kitchen. But I can't wait. I can't wait to see that happen because I'm not a fan, just personally. So those are the 2022 design trends. I hope that you found them interesting and helpful. these things can be applied in different ways, whether you're making these renovations for yourself or you're making the renovations to sell. Obviously, if you're making renovations to sell, before you start spending money and committing to things, I think that's a good time to bring in your architect, your designer, your real estate agent, based on the size of your project. I'm always happy to talk to you about those sorts of things. So if you have specific thoughts or questions, or you want me to come over and visit and give you some ideas, I'm always down for that. Feel free to reach out to me, whether that's email, text. All of my information is down below, including all the links to my social. So feel free to connect with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.